It's always tough when a loved one dies, and for some people, psychic mediums help provide closure. But you don't have to be psychic to see the signs. At least that's according to a new book. Let's welcome Laura Lynne Jackson. She is the author of Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you for being here. And before we start in your book, I just wanted to ask you, you've been doing this, talking to the other side for years now. How did this all start for you?
You know, it started for me as a child. I would see people in colors. I would feel what they were feeling. And when I was 11, I knew my grandfather was going to die right before he died. And right after he crossed, I had this dream where he visited me, and I had this beautiful communication. And ever since then, I've just, understood that people who cross are really still with us, you know, and they're very accessible to us to connect with and to get guidance from and just to feel love from.
And that brings us to this is your second book, right?
Yes.
Yes, Signs. And you write in the very beginning that you don't need a psychic medium to see the signs around you. Explain why.
That's exactly true. You know, so many times people think that they need to go to a psychic medium in order to hear from their loved ones or to get messages from their loved ones, but that is so far from the truth. Whenever I do a reading, I'm the third wheel. You know, we can all communicate with the other side, and whether we realize it or not, those that we love who have crossed have been trying to send us signs and messages all along. And the minute we open our mind and our heart to it, we not only start seeing all those signs and messages, we can even create a whole nother language with them to ask for very specific things and get those as well.
So what are some of the default signs that people should be looking for?
Sure, I always talk about default signs. Default signs are the signs and messages our loved ones have been sending us since the moment they crossed, to get our attention, to let us know they're still very much present in our lives and they're still around and loving us. So some of the most common ones are coins, putting coins in our path, pennies, dimes, nickels. I think that's because when we leave our physical bodies, we are light energy. And for some reason, it's easy for us to manipulate small metallic objects.
Right.
Other ones are electrical disturbances. They love messing with our cell phones. You know, back before the day of cell phones, they would flicker the lights, they would turn the TV on and off. But now that we have cell phones, I always tell people, pay attention when you get a call, like a missed call from somebody that you don't understand the number or you don't recognize it.
It might not be a robocall, is what you're saying?
It might not be. You know, it's really interesting. I had been doing a podcast once, and this woman, we were speaking about how this can happen with cell phones, and she said, oh my gosh, I was just at a memorial service for a friend a few months ago. She said, and I had my phone on silent, and when I came out, there was a voicemail for me. She said I had listened to it, and it was 15 seconds of the most beautiful ethereal music. She said, so I tried to call the number back, and it wasn't in existence. So I thought that's a really beautiful sign. Then I was just in LA doing a book signing, and a woman came up to me after, and she said, you know, I heard about that. I read your book, and my dad had recently crossed, and so I was paying attention. She said, and right after I read that chapter, I realized I got a phone call that I missed. She said, so I put the number into Google, and the very first line that came up under this number was, hi, it's Eugene. She said, my dad's name was Eugene. These are the things you just, I mean, you can't even fathom this, right?
Some of the other things on your list were butterflies.
Butterflies, birds, deer, dragonflies, ladybugs, any creature that navigates the earth using electromagnetic fields they like to send.
So let me ask, how do you know when something is a sign and when it might not be?
That's such a great question. So I think a lot of times our, analytical mind, the frontal lobe of our mind, that monkey mind that meditation teachers talk about, try to wrestle with our spiritual experiences. So a lot of times we'll get a sign and we'll have this almost sense of the person. We'll just feel their energy around. And the really hard part is receiving and accepting that sign. I think so many of us like to either be fearful of it or dismiss it or ignore it or not tell anyone about it.
Right.
And I think the most beautiful thing we can do when we get our moments of connection, our signs, is to, in our minds, thank whoever sent it on the other side and then share that story with someone.
Exactly. And this is your book is full of different stories like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, Laura. And off camera, I'm going to ask you if you can feel anything.
Sure.
In this room, we'll put that on Facebook because we're out of time, unfortunately. But to learn more about Signs from the Other Side and to learn more about her book, just head to our website, cbsnewyork.com.